Shalom, this is Malhut's Torah Thursday. I'm Rachel and we are discussing Parashat Miketz this week. Miketz means at the end. Before I tell you a little about Miketz, it goes from Genesis or Bereshit 41:1 to 44:17. Now, Miketz means at the end. Miketz comes from a root word katzatz, which means to cut off, to sever, to chop off. Yes, it simply means that Joseph, is at the end of the time period where he stays in prison. So he is about to leave that portion of his life. That portion of his life is coming to an end so that the next portion of his life can happen, can manifest. And we are seeing this, or we will see this throughout this Torah portion. Now, in this Torah portion, we read of the Pharaoh having a dream. He's agitated. No one can interpret the dream correctly, and he is beside himself. And it so happens that there is a cupbearer whose dream Joseph had interpreted some time before. He remembered that there was a Hebrew slave while he was in prison who had interpreted his dream, and he said to the Pharaoh, "You know, there's this Hebrew slave who interpreted my dream, and it came to pass." The Pharaoh sends for Joseph. He is cleaned up. He has a shave. He has a trim, and he is he gets new clothes, and he stands in front of the Pharaoh. And by Hashem's wisdom, he interprets the dream. And afterwards, we read of his elevated status. He becomes viceroy, second to the Pharaoh, and he sets about making sure that all the grain is stored and everything is working well. His brothers, because of the famine that was predicted, the famine is now here, and his brothers come to buy grain in Egypt. But Joseph had his eye out. He wanted to see if his brothers would come to buy grain. And he puts them through a test, calling them spies and all of that. In the end, at one point, I should say, he imprisons Simeon and makes them take Benjamin back, and lots of interesting aspects within this Torah portion. Now, in addition to this week's Parashat, there is the portion that we read from the prophets, the Torah, and it comes from 1 Kings, and it is about Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, who is just about ascending the throne. And Hashem comes to him in a dream and says, What do you want? What do you want me to give you? What kind of gift can I give to you? And Shlomo HaMelech says, Give me wisdom to know how to rule. And even today and beyond, we will hear, and we still hear, and forever we'll hear that Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, was the wisest king. And lots of interesting portions, lots of interesting insights within Parashat Miketz. But I want to just pull your attention to one point, and let's just talk about it just a little bit. And it comes from Bereshit or Genesis 41:8. And it basically speaks about that dream that the Pharaoh had. And I just want to go through the cows, the number of cows and the stalks that he dreamt about. And it says, well, altogether there were 28 cows and stalks in Pharaoh's dream. 7 healthy cows, 7 scrawny cows, 7 fruitful stalks, and 7 ravished stalks. Now, if we do a summation, we have 4 groups of 7. 4 groups of 7. This gives us 28. And the 28, friends, speaks of many things. And one of the things that it speaks about is the times and seasons that Kohelet, Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 mention. A season for this, a time for this, a time for that. So we read that it is now the end of Joseph's stay in the prison, and he left where he was not of his own volition, but he was uprooted and planted at this place. And we now see where, okay, now he is moving. This is another season in his life. And it speaks to the different seasons that we have in our lives. At times we are sad. At times we cry, we mourn. But the opposite of those feelings, we rejoice, we are happy, there is life. And we read that even these things are essential for our purpose to be fulfilled, for our quack to be fully manifested. Because Koach also has a numerical value of 28. But what is Koach? Koach in Hebrew means power, one's ability, one's capability, one's authority that Hashem gives to him or her to have dominion. And to use this ability for value added, to see purposes being fulfilled, to see that person's purpose being fulfilled. And we read from the birth of Joseph, from the times when he initially had his dreams, to the misfortune. Well, some say a misfortune, but it would say it was purposed that he would have gone ahead of his whole family down to Egypt in order to receive them, right? But we read about the different seasons and the different times, and our purpose, our God-given ability being matured and processed throughout these stages in our lives. And just as Joseph, he had his times, and he sojourned, he stayed where he was planted, and wherever he was planted, he was granted favor. And he was granted favor. And just as us, when we go through our lives and we go through those rough patches, and we receive Hashem's favor, and he allows his favor to be extended, and others show favor to us in our times. And I'm saying, okay, this is so awesome. And no matter what, and when we look back, when we have a full gamut, a full sight of our experiences, we come to realize that it was all within the will and purposes for our lives. And through this, we allow the light of Torah, the light of God, to manifest, to show through us. And just want to encourage you that let your light show, let your light shine. And no matter the stage in your life that you're at, whether you are at the mourning stage, the happiness stage, Hashem is there with you. If you're in the pit, he's there. When you go to the palace, he's there. Shabbat Shalom.